Well, Budmo, as you might be aware by now, is the online expert in terms of spare parts. If you want a spare part for your vehicle, they have it in their list. They have the most extensive spare parts catalog, right from the most affordable small car to the top of the line luxury car, you name the car, and they have the spare parts for it. And the best point is that they have the spare parts from a host of different component makers and different price segments for the same spare part. So if you want to buy a cheaper part from a different maker or a more expensive part from a different component maker, they have the option for you. First thing that you'll really like about the Swift is the seats. The seat comfort is one of the best in the business, irrespective of what segment, what kind of car you're buying. If you're buying any kind of car from rupees 5 lakh to 15 lakh rupees, few of them can match the seat comfort of the Swift. The cushioning is spot on, the overall support is very good, the seat scope both in length and breadth is quite good. And even if you have lanky legs like me, you'll be quite comfortable. These seats now, the lower support for your lower back is good, and you also get these bolsters on the sides, which means in case you decide to push this car up those hills, then these seats will really grab you and hold you well. So you'll be firmly sitting in them and not sliding around like this, like you do in some other cars. So that's something nice. What's also nice is the layout and the overall design of the dashboard. It's been around for 3 years now, but even then it's looking fresh and modern. Now the new thing is, of course, you get cruise control over here, you get automatic headlamps, but you also get a new MID display. It's been borrowed from the Baleno, so you get a lot of functions, a lot of features on this. A new and updated infotainment system as well. The graphics have been slightly updated. It's a little more colorful, a little more punchy. It is quite decent to operate. The sound quality is also quite decent. Plastic quality is a little patchy though, because the plastics over here and over here are quite good. Lower part, well, some of them are a little scratchy, and the one over here also could have been slightly better, but nothing to complain about. I'm just nitpicking so that you don't end up saying that Maruti has paid me money to only praise about this car. Couple of negatives as well. One negative is that features have been improved, but they could have been a little better. You don't get a knob over here for the volume control, which is a bit of a miss because I like that. Also, when you put this car in reverse, the viewer or the camera for the reverse isn't that good, and the high definition camera is not there, so that's something which you would have appreciated. And this car still misses out on an elbow rest or a arm box or whatever you want to call it. And I think that is something that Maruti should give this car now, because this car really is an icon. It's really one of the premium cars in the market, and these are small things which would have gone a long way to make it feel a little more luxurious, a little more upmarket as well. Well, so inside the front end of the Nissan Magnite now. Now, when you compare this car with the Swift in terms of the cabin color, it's the same color. You get the same black and dark grey treatment inside. But the plus point on the Magnite, of course, is the fact that you get a completely digital display for the gauges, which looks very cool, very urban and very sporty. And of course, you get more features also. You get tire pressure monitors, which you don't get on the Swift. You also get wireless charging for a mobile phone. You also get a 360 camera with a bird's eye view, which is again something you don't get on the Swift. And the touchscreen also is bigger. It's an 8-inch touchscreen. It's nicer to use. The stereo also is better. It's a JBL setup, so that's also nicer. And of course, you get wireless connection. You can connect your Apple phones and your Android phones via Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and you can use the CarPlay and Android Auto via that. You don't have to always carry your wire. So that's something which is very unique on this car. And at this price point, in terms of seat comfort, both these cars are neck and neck, and really it's hard to choose which one is better. But in terms of space and overall practicality, this one is definitely ahead. Couple of trays over here, one over here and one below it, where you can keep your odds and ends, big cup holders, and of course the best in segment glove box. And the door bin is also large enough to have that big 1 liter bottle, and the build quality also is much tougher. This car feels more solid and much more solid than the Swift. So who is the battle of the front seat? Well, it's no competition. The Magnite has a clear advantage. It's got more features, better looking interiors, and definitely solid build, and in that sense it's the better car in the front end. Now let's jump in the back seat and see which one offers you more space and which one is more comfortable. Well, so here I'm at the back seat of the Swift, and the Swift offers you very nice seats, just like the front seats. The back seat also is very comfortable. The seat scope is good and very nicely balanced in terms of the cushioning. It's not too hard, not too firm, and neither is it too soft, so that's something which is good. The backrest angle is good. AC vents are not present, but that's something okay, because this is a car which competes against rivals who also don't have AC vents at the back. The only negative is that the pillar over here merges into this black out portion, because this of course is the handle for the door over here. So that's something which some buyers might not appreciate on a long distance journey, because the cabin just feels a little hemmed in. Well, so now inside the cabin of the Magnite, the back end, Knee room is quite good. Headroom is also more than sufficient. Now this is a bigger car than the Swift, so obviously you'll get more space in the back. But that's not all. You also get an armrest, which you don't get on the Swift. A couple of beverage holders, one place to keep your odds and ends. Also, you get AC vents at the back, and the good point is that the window is large, and you also get a quarter glass window. So the cabin at the back doesn't feel as claustrophobic as it does on the Swift, because the Swift, remember, is all blackened out over here. So that's a big negative. And honestly, there's no comparison really, because if you are a chauffeur-driven passenger, if you are always in the back seat, then the Magnite definitely has more space, better comfort in the seats, the backrest angle is better, and generally the ambience inside this car is much better as well. So justifiably, the backseat comparison department is won by the Nissan Magnite. The Swift doesn't have any chance. In terms of the boot space, we'll just give you a glimpse of the boots, but again, this car has the bigger boot. It's a 336 litre boot, which gives it the advantage over the Swift. This, of course, is a dual jet engine, which means that Maruti has now given you new technology in terms of the fuel injection. So the power output has been bumped up a bit. It's got up to 90 bhp, and the torque figures have also increased slightly. Where you will find that the immediate difference is the fact that it's a very, very responsive engine. Now, even the earlier version of the car was very responsive, but this one is really responsive. So just a small dab of the throttle pedal means that this engine is ready to become lively and move, which is good for people who drive in the city, because you don't have to use the accelerator pedal hard, and secondly, you don't have to change the gears constantly to get the best from this car. Now, even if you have to change the gears constantly, it's quite okay, because the gearbox is quite a decent one on this car, and you'll be more than happy to use the gearbox because it's a smooth shifting gearbox, manual 5-speed unit, but of course very smooth shifting. The clutch action is nice and light, and overall the Swift is a nice car to drive within city limits, because even the steering wheel is accurate, but it's pretty light, so you don't have to push too much effort into it, so you won't be tired at the end of a long day. For highway travel, the stability is decent till about 100 kph. In terms of refinement, this is a fantastic engine, because even if you start from cold, you rev it hard, you're on the highway, you're driving up the hills, there's absolutely no harshness in the engine, there's absolutely no noise, no vibration. It's a very quiet motor, and the only thing that really filters into the cabin is a little bit of tire noise when you're driving at 80 or 85 on the highway or above those speeds. There's a little bit of tire noise which enters the cabin. No engine noise, no wind whistle, so that is fantastic. You also, of course, get AMT gearbox on this car, 5-speed AMT, and Maruti calls it the AGS technology. And in terms of overall drivability, it's a decent gearbox. You'll enjoy driving in the city. There's a little bit of lurchiness about itself. There are those little bit of jhatkas which enter when you really push the accelerator pedal hard, which is something which is there on every AMT car. So it's not unique to this particular car. It's there on every car. Well, so I'm driving the Nissan Magnite now. Now remember, the Magnite comes with only one engine option, just like the Swift, but you can choose it in two different states of tune. You can either choose the 70 bhp version, the 74 bhp version to be exact, and you can choose the 100 bhp turbo version of the car. And you also choose two gearboxes. You can choose the automatic CVT, or you can choose the manual. Now today we'll compare the 100 bhp version of the car, not the 74 bhp version, because this, of course, is the more powerful version and comes closer to the 90 bhp of the Swift. Now this is, of course, a more heavier car than the Swift. That's quite understandable. So performance also isn't as quick. It is quite quick in its own right, but not as quick as the Swift. The Swift feels a lot more lighter than this car, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing also. Now it's a bad thing for those who are on the highways mostly, because the Swift doesn't feel as stable as this one does. At speeds of about 100 kph, this feels a lot more stable than your last girlfriend, and a lot more stable than the Maruti Suzuki Swift does. It also feels better to drive in the city. The overall ride comfort is better. The suspension soaks up the bumps much better, and just in general, it's a nicer and keener car to drive. The steering wheel is also slightly heavier than the Swift, so you get a better sense of security and you get a better sense of overall feedback from this car. The Swift has an overtly light steering wheel, which really is just too light and doesn't feel too feelsome as well. What you will like, of course, about this car also is the visibility. Excellent visibility up ahead, excellent visibility from side view mirrors, and excellent visibility from the back mirror as well. And in terms of the overall driving bits, one area where this car is behind is in the overall refinement. When you rev this engine hard, it does tend to become a little loud and boomy. At lower revs, it is quite good, but at higher revs, definitely, it becomes a little noisy. It's not a deal breaker. In isolation, it's quite good, but compared with the excellent engine of the Swift, it is slightly a buzzy one. That is quite understandable. The gearbox quality is also slightly behind of the manual, but the AMT, the CVT gearbox, is definitely ahead compared to the Maruti's AMT. The AMT gearbox on the Maruti Suzuki Swift just has those jhatkas and lurches up and down when you change gears or when the gears automatically shift. But the CVT over here is smooth, it's effortless, it's refined, and really is much better technology and a much better gearbox than the one on the Swift. In one area where this car is definitely behind, though, is in the fuel efficiency. And of course, Maruti is known to be the masters of fuel efficiency, and it's no different with the Swift, and this one will definitely fall short in that department. But overall, if I had to give it a vote, if I had to compare this car with the Swift, which one should win my battle? Well, it's quite obvious that it's a bigger car and definitely is slightly better in terms of driving, slightly better in terms of overall ride comfort and the features as well. And I think that just for the price, I mean, the starting price of this car is comparable with the Swift, and just for the starting price, it is unbeatable value for money. The top end automatic versions also start from about 9.5 lakh rupees on road, which is roughly the same price for the ZXi and ZXi Plus versions of the Swift. And all these things mean that this car is excellent value for money, and these days compact SUVs usually are the range, and it's definitely a better choice compared to a premium hatchback and the Swift. So my vote and today's winner is definitely on the Nissan Magnite. It is definitely the better car, and pricing wise, feature wise, value for money wise, you just can't beat the Magnite, and it deserves a double thumbs up from my side. It definitely deserves a double thumbs up from my side, and it definitely deserves a strong score than the Swift does. Go ahead and check it out at a Nissan dealership, and I'm sure that you'll agree with my verdict. It's bye for now, and thanks for watching.